I think it's 36, day 36 today, and or maybe 37. I'll look it up. And today, actually, a lot of what's on my mind is my eye. So I've had this rash around my eye for a couple of months now, and I really believe in psychosomatic manifestations in the body. So everything that the body manifests has something to do with our internal world. Like, I knew it, right? And I've done so much work already that I was surprised that something is coming up now, whereas, I've done so much already. So what's interesting is that, as I've been saying here, for the last several months, I've been going really in depths of who I am. Really a kind of much older material, that I haven't probably yet processed. I mean, it's, as I always say, healing is this spiral, right? So I've been like digging and drilling deeper and deeper into myself. As we clear one layer, right, we have access to the next layer. So I guess I've done a lot. I've removed a lot of layers, and now I'm really getting into something very visceral, very deep. And so in the last several months, also it happened so that I'm dealing with some conversations with my mother, which have, they've kind of broken, and I'm now talking to her again and all that stuff, but my eye is not getting better. So last Friday, I spoke to a woman who I follow from The Healing Point on Instagram, who is trained in Chinese medicine, and she understands, all the points, meridians, and all the points in the body. And so she was interested because I think she's written something about the fact that any kind of a rash, it's like heat, anger, something that itches you, something that disturbs you. So I contacted her. And what she said that was interesting is that, anger, as a good girl, first of all, I obviously repressed my anger, but also on the receiving end of anger of my father, like he was definitely somebody who couldn't process his anger, so he was quite violent quite frequently. And so the children who, as a very young child receiving his anger, I must have been, anger was a horrible thing, a bad thing. So when I felt the anger in me in response to some of this unfair treatment, I couldn't allow myself to feel it. So it was suppressed. And actually, as I'm processing all this today, I had another memory. I was already a teen, and I remember one day there was something, I was going out, and there was something that my father was kind of pressing the buttons, and pressing the buttons and kind of getting me to the state where I think my energy was just really boiling. And at some point I just screamed, but just screamed, because I couldn't express anything else. I couldn't express what I was feeling in words, because it was something so primal. And then the way he looked at me, and probably the way he treated me after, it's just I was just so ashamed, So any kind of expression of these strong feelings was shamed. So it's no wonder, so basically in our conversation, we spoke of the fact that this is my anger coming out, It's my anger coming out, and I've already, at first I let it on its own, thinking that I'm going to heal it, or it's going to get better as I'm processing my stuff. And then I even did a week of antibiotic treatment creams, and it didn't go away. It made it a little bit lighter, but it's obvious that it didn't take care of the source of the issue, just sort of suppressed the manifestation a little bit. So So when I speak my truth, basically my whole voyage, right, is to learn to use my voice, to learn to speak my truth. And what is interesting is that so many people in my family are now not talking to me. Not my family, not my family-in-law. Like my family-in-law, I practically have no interaction with them now. Because as I started daring to speak my truth, I again was on the receiving end of anger. So, as a child, I was on the receiving end of anger, so I suppressed my voice and I suppressed my natural sort of like, the instinctual need to express myself. And that's what created that good girl, that perfect little girl, the people pleaser, everyone, right? And now that I am unraveling those adaptive mechanisms that kept me safe as a child, that don't serve me anymore as a grown-up, because I want real relationships, right? I don't want to maintain fake relationships just because I'm behaving in the way they need me to, right? I'm now, and this is like what my whole message about what I teach and what I am as a coach is, as the reason why so many of us are frustrated in our relationships as grown-ups is because we come into them as an inner child who has created all these protective mechanisms. So nobody knows us, right? And then we are frustrated because we're not seen, we're not understood, and we want our needs to be met like our parents were supposed to, by our partners, but that's not their role. So as I am now unraveling the protective mechanisms of my inner child and I speak my truth, I'm confronting anger again from other people. And as they cut me off and as they block me, that creates anger in me, right? Anger and pain and frustration. I mean, there's a lot of pain that I haven't been able to express to them, to say something to them, or even like to really properly process. And so all this stuff is coming out now in my face, And also what is interesting is we were talking about, eyes obviously seeing, right? Seeing clearly, having vision. And a lot of what I am getting to, a lot of what my journey these last several years that got me here is all about like connecting to my vision, healing, these masculine energies, being on purpose, healing feminine energies as well, right? Where I can be a nurturer, but nurturing myself as well, not just other people. So there's so much going on here, but it was just really, really interesting that as I was processing, going really deeper into the heat, that this rash represents, and connecting it to the fact that I have all this unexpressed anger. It was interesting, all the memories that are now flooding me again, and all the processing that still needs to be done. So our body always speaks to us, as I always say, our body is always sending signals. And I was always very grateful to my body for not having huge physical manifestations. But I guess now I am really getting into something that is quite old and quite visceral. And so the body is as I'm disturbing these old dormant feelings. And actually also I felt so much rage toward my mother when she wrote me, a little over a month ago now, these like series of really horrific messages. I accessed my anger against her. Something that I really never very much consciously, felt or expressed. So yeah, it's interesting, just to prove my point once again, how we are so much more than we were taught we are, and how our body is, we need to absolutely return to our body, understand its language, reconnect, remember our inner wisdom, and reconnect to all the signals and what it all means to us. And really understand, I really do believe that as I'm working through this, as I am clearing and processing anger, these old, very, very old feelings within me, my eye will get better on its own, you know. But it's an interesting, it's really a fascinating subject, and I will be talking more about it, you know, as I go along. And I speak a lot about it already in my program, but it's interesting because, you know, it took me so long in the last several years. I worked a lot with body and just like our natural tendency to shame it and deny it and be ashamed of its, you know, manifestations, liquids and byproduct and everything. There is so much repairing work to be done, especially for women, but not only women, because I see that men are struggling with their bodies as well. I think we've all been taken on quite a ride under patriarchy. So yeah, I just wanted to share that today. See you tomorrow.